Today's project is working on a simulator holder that allows us to change positions, like this. This is our Sophie and her mom simulator in a supine birth position, and normally we do our trainings with her flipped around on hands and knees. But either way, she's in a fixed position. So my engineering challenge for today is, how can we make these change birth positions with a simple click? My system involves 2 wooden trays and some ratcheting adjustment levers. And with a simple push, you can put her into various birth positions. Obviously, as she gets higher, more like a standing or sitting in a birth stool, she's going to want to keep moving because these ratchets move quite a far ways. So at a certain point, you have to hold her back if you're pushing the baby through. But when she's more at a 45-degree angle, the force is such that you don't have to stabilize it. So this lets us change positions from supine to semi-reclined to sitting up as if she's in a birth stool. To go back to the normal position, you release the ratchets all the way and then pull back. Sometimes one of my sides likes to get stuck, so I just kind of have to hold the little pin back. These ratcheting levers are a little oversized for this table, and so they don't actually unpop or unlock. So sometimes I have to just push the pins back to get it back to neutral position. You could solve the problem by buying shorter pieces of hardware. I wasn't exactly sure how long of an extension I would need, so I bought a longer one. But as you can see, it's quite simple again. There. And it's about at this position where you'd probably have to start holding her so that when you push the baby through, it doesn't just keep going all the way. Let's take a closer look at how I engineered this table. I have 2 identical trays. These are ones I picked up at a local Walmart store. In fact, they were the perfect size. I put them on hinges, lift-off hinges, so that if I only want one tray just to support the base, which is attached to my bench, I can easily do that. With the 2 trays, you'll see you want something that's fairly thick. A nice thick piece of plywood would work well, but it would need to be at least, I would say, 3/4 inch or thicker. That would be about 22 millimeters or thicker. Ideally more like an inch or 25 millimeters, because you're drilling these fairly large bolts through and you want enough stability as you drill. My ratcheting straps here start on the bottom and are attached to the top and the back, so that when I lift it up, it ratchets into each locked position. I've also drilled 4 holes that correspond with the base plate holes in the Sophie and her mom simulator. Those go underneath and get bolted from below, so it's firmly attached to the top. To make it easier to attach the Sophie and her mom when she's supine, I put these carriage bolts with a nut right here so it holds them in place, because when you start to try to put this on top and put the whole thing down, it sometimes pushes these down and out of the way. So this just holds them more or less in place, so that I can then put the entire simulator torso on top of those 4 bolts. Here you can see how I disassemble or assemble these 4 carriage bolts. So there's a bolt, a nut, and then on the other side a washer and a wing nut. So as you can see, this is how I've attached my base plate or my base piece of wood to the bench. I drilled 2 holes and put them through with a bolt. Underneath is a washer and a wing nut. This was from an earlier video tutorial, just showing how to attach a supportive wood board to a bench if you like that setup. Now let's take a look at how this works with Sophie and her mom on an upright position, hands and knees. Here's our Sophie and her mom setup in a hands and knees position, what we usually do. It's usually stationary and she can't change positions, so I'm going to show you how this would work to help her move from hands and knees to more vertical position like standing. So right now I have to attach the ratchet strap not all the way around the entire bench like we usually do, or around the entire table, but around the top piece of wood. So it needs to go underneath the top layer and in between the top and bottom layers. Might be a little tricky because I have these pieces of hardware in the way, but I'm guessing I might have to loosen them on the back here with the wing nut and take them off, thread the ratchets through and then reconnect them. It's quite quick. Okay, so I have my ratchet strap threaded underneath the top table all the way around and connected. Let's hook these back up again. Now, I ratchet this all tight together and see how it works. Okay, so our ratchet strap is nice and tight. I usually secure it closer to the back of the model, so with all the forces pushing forward, it's not held here, which would make it more likely to tip loose. So normally we push our babies through just like this. Mom is in a flat hands and knees position with the back more or less horizontal. So I want to see how well it works to adjust this into a more standing position. Let's give it a try. So there's our first position that it locks into. I think that the difficulty with this is that the weight of the upright simulator is higher and it's starting to tip over more. So it wants to keep tipping. If I let go, it keeps going to the next position and the next. So I think this is definitely a design issue with changing positions in an upright simulator. It doesn't tend to stay in place like the supine one does. The supine one more or less stays in place until it's almost all the way vertical. So this is something we got to keep figuring out. How can we do an adjustable thing, one that locks into place not only from this direction but also from the other direction? Otherwise it wants to tip. One possibility I see using the existing hardware is to attach an adjustable strap between the top and the bottom layers. So once it's in place, you just adjust the strap and it can't go forward or backwards. Then you can loosen it and ratchet it to the next position. It would be another layer of engineering, and maybe it's not the best solution. So this experiment teaches me that it is possible to make an adjustable simulator table. It works better with this hardware setup if it's supine, adjusting up to a semi-sitting or fully sitting position as in a birth stool. Not as great for adjusting an upright hands and knees torso with this kind of hardware. So if you have any engineering ideas or solutions, please send them to my email, info@breachwithoutborders.org, or get in touch via our website or Facebook page. If you want to take the two pieces apart and use just the bottom table like I demonstrated in another video, it's easy to do. You take the wing nuts off the back and slip these off. And then if you installed hinges that are lift-away hinges, they come apart like this. And then this part is ready to use as the base for your simulator if you're doing it in an upright or a supine position if you wanted to use it on top of a bench.